Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another update or status update. This won't be a short video, it will be a bit longer this time because quite some things changed since the last time. If I recall correctly, I used the MySQL C++ connector from Oracle for my MySQL client classes. But as I found out, it wasn't that nice to handle with. It was designed to be independent framework, you could say, but what I needed was quite the back-end stuff. So I tried MySQL++. Some may have read that in my Twitter feed. If you go on Twitter and look for the hashtag ProjectDNC written together, there you have some status updates if I change some things on the code, or if you go to GitHub and search for ProjectDNC or .NetClone. I think I'm gonna change the name because of Microsoft. Yes, but my choice fell to the MySQL C API. That's, I think, the lowest point you can go with a native API. MySQL++ and the MySQL C++ connector from Oracle are basically wrapping this C API. That's what you see here as a short meme by me. So let's look at. I have started my my MySQL server because I wanted to demonstrate some things, show you some classes, changes I made, and so on. Where are we? Visual Studio. Yeah. Okay. Don't want to see that. Want to see this. So in the background, my XAMPP MySQL server is running as usual, but in the back end of my MySQL classes, you can see them. Can I? Okay, I can't enhance the project tree. I think. I don't know what it's called in English. But we can test the code here. I haven't compiled it since I added another class. We may run into some errors. Oh. Okay. We didn't very well. Yeah, I had some problems with the date time. A lot of pointers, as you can see. This is the CAPI part. A lot of stuff, but we can go to the next. Type long. Yes, thank you. I was debugging here. This is the data table. So, well, here we are. And to say that once again, this everything here is happening with the C API. So I added the parameters. I think this is a new feature. So if you have a MySQL command, you can add some parameters and add them to the parameters list. So parameter size 1. Yes, this one. And t is an integer. T is a type. So it has a hash code that's unique for the type at compile time. And this is the and where's the value? Probably parameter. Oh, okay, this is the MySQL data type. This is this class here. Let's have a look. It's just an ordinary enum class. So this is just wrapping the C type classes. I think enum field types is a bit long, so I change it up a bit. So you just have to MySQL DB types, double colon, and these strings. Not strings, just you know what I mean. Yeah, write it here. We want it long as a parameter, and the value should be free. Yes, you see here we want long, so long value. I don't. Is this right? Long is just one option, I think. Yes, long value. But this doesn't matter all that much. Most stuff is happening in the background, and the MySQL adapter is just taking this command with this query string. Here was a where parameter. I removed that for more data. I wanted to test how it acts with more data, so we can look at our memory table. So rows, we got 4. I have 3 items because it has 3 columns. That was the one. What did I look for? ID 1. You can look at the columns as well. ID, name. What's that? It's a stupid name I gave the column. Doesn't matter really much. Okay, rows, first row, 3 items, value 1, Peter is schön, and this is a, I think it's an unsigned long value, probably a 64-bit integer, representing the date. But in the background I use the C time structure, and this struct is a bit strange in the behavior because it doesn't go before, what was it, 1970 or 1900? I don't know really. Yeah, it's a problem of conversion, not a problem with the database or something else. Won't take long to find that out. And yes, this is a date time instance, and this is the time point. It's a C time C++ time point class instance. So yes, this is the representation of time point. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to look at the other values. The third one, items, ID 3, name, blah blah blah, and some point in time again. And now we can let us show this. What is F10? Okay, F10. Let's write it to the console. This is the console. Of course, the Ö is not represented well. Again, something I have to look at. Yeah, it's a UTF-8 problem. I think this this console output here is not supporting UTF-8 in the way C++ does it. So I probably have to do some conversion if I want to display it here in the console. But console is just, well, how should I say it? It's a temporary thing, because this is going to be a framework used in other bigger applications, probably not using the console command line. And even if C++ isn't UTF-8 compatible, so there has to be some work done to make it compatible. But what we can do is check where ID is question mark. This is a placeholder. This placeholder should work quite well. At least the last time it worked. So I think all breakpoints but this one are removed. So here we are again. We have data from the... Okay, it's one row as expected, because we set parameter for the ID to 3, and an ID is unique identification. One row. Yes. All items, please. Yes. Value 3. Blah, 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 blah. And some random date. I have to work on things like date time to string and string to date time methods for the data table class and classes. But as you can see, it works. It works quite well so far. Other things are to be done at... Let's see. That was wrong. Here, I added some classes. Before I had just the very basic types like integer, short, and double and float. I added some other classes like unsigned long, ulong, and so on, because we need them in the data row. A data row has to return multiple types of types. Multiple has to be able to return multiple types, and these types have to be mapped inside the data table, or to be exactly one data row. If we go to the private section, here we have a vector of items. These are just object pointers, so we need for every type we want to put into the data row, we need a wrapper for a primitive type like a long, double, double, and so on. Where do I have long? I added long. Did I add long double? No, I don't think so. So this is, well, also on the list, a very long list, as I might add. So you can see here casting to boolean pointer, short. These are all classes, the wrapper classes, and they are not finished. If you look at not the header file, the source file for example, long, the toString method shouldn't return system.long. It should return something like the value stored in here. This value is a long variable, or yes, it's a long variable, and toString should return the value. So I will probably use the toString method added in C++ 11 or something. It's a method that takes several primitive types of God knows what, and makes it to a string, so I will use it here, so I don't have to write my own code. It's a bit tricky to, at least, for example, to convert a double to string. Of course, there are DC methods, like, what will it be? Double D to A. Double to array would it be called, I think. Oh, let's find out. D to A. Isn't it? Whatever. Might be that. Is everything included here? Yeah, probably a header file or something missing. Like, what is it? Forget about it. Yeah, I added some here, long double and stuff. Did I implement it? Long double. Oh yes, decimal. Decimal is a class I used instead of long double because it's the class representing a long double in C# or .NET is the class decimal. Decimal, I think decimal. So I implemented that one. The class decimal in .NET is quite big with a lot of conversion functions for currency and such things. Again, stuff on the list, but what I already implemented. What did I change? Did I change something? Better not save it. I added a list class because it's a generic list class because yeah, lists are quite important, and again, this is just a wrapper for the vector class, but it isn't always nice to write vector of type blah blah blah. So I wrote a wrapper, and not all of these methods given here are native to the vector class. So I think the list class is a good addition to something like the string class. I mean, C++ has its own string class, so why write it again? Because some methods are missing, like the split method and stuff, and I like to have it wrapped inside a class, so I rewrote the string class, and so I'm going to rewrite the list class. Again, some methods are missing. The reason is something like the sort method to sort the contents of this vector. You need to use function pointers as parameters, and I didn't have the time yet to read into that, so I implemented what I could. I'm probably not going to use template pointers here because if you have a pointer, you're looking for one specific item, and I don't think the intention of the method last index of is to find one item. It's the intention to, let's say, the template would in one case be a double. I don't want one specific double, I want a double with a value. So I probably will use a template reference or a template itself if you are talking about simple types, primitive types like long, int, short, double and stuff. If it comes to string, the problem shouldn't be too big, because my string class implements an equals operator. But if you use other classes that don't have an equals operator, the result could be different than expected. So, but yes, I think I demonstrated, except the parameters, the function of these classes the last time, so this isn't really much new stuff. So I wanted to ask you, my viewers, you are quite few, but it's important that I have external input. So my question would be, what classes do you want in this framework? Because at the moment I'm developing with Java and Java front-end, Java web front-end, so I'm quite a bit distanced to C# and everything .NET. So I wanted to ask you, what would you want next in the .NET clone or ProjectDNC? Yeah, you can write it in the comments, in the YouTube comments. You can write it on Twitter with the hashtag ProjectDNC. And I don't know if GitHub has some kind of messaging system. I will probably create a new mail address for projects like these, so you can mail me your suggestions. Many developers are still more favorable to use the email address than social media, for example. Yes, some developers are a bit older, so yeah. Yeah. And seeing this, I think the next thing I will implement is that you don't have to call the rows method to get a row, so that the data row class has its own bracket operator. Well, not data row, data table. I'm sorry. Data table needs its own operator, its bracket operator, to return a row. Yes. Yeah. That's what I will work next. And if I'm finished with that one, the list class is implemented but untested. So testing the list class, and if the list class works, I'm going to finish the MySQL types, at least the datetime class. The datetime is quite important. And if that is done, we can take a short look at the data reader source class. It's, I must say, quite lengthy, because huge switch cases for every single type. I'm sorry, not used to speak English. And some redundant code. Yeah. There's room for optimization, but it's working quite nicely so far. As you can see, one big switch. Yes, and stuff like this I have to implement, like get bytes. They said there is going to be a bytes data type a byte data type like C# in C++ 17 or something. I will use this in here. So if you want to use this framework, you will need to have C++ at least 11. But I hope you will use this framework in not in old projects, but in new projects, and you will compile them with C++ 14 or even 17 if it's out when you watched this video. Yeah, get data type name and blah blah blah. Much stuff. Here's some testing. Throw this constant string. I will, yes, the next thing on the list is custom exceptions with let's say nicer output. So if you make a try catch somewhere in your code and an error happens, that you see a nice message and you can catch that message easier. Yeah, so as you can see, I have worked quite a bit on this. And yeah, I hope someone will in the future appreciate this work and use it for good deeds. So data table, yeah, I will probably implement it after this video. And here everything is okay. Yeah, and after the MySQL client classes, I will go to a bit heavier stuff like networking. Networking will be quite hard because there are a lot of frameworks regarding networking, but that would cause external dependencies, and looking is the license compliant, don't know the word, to my license. I use the GNU GPL version 3 license, but not everything works with this license, so I will probably have no choice but to write a lot of networking code myself and to say it. Oh, my mind is blank. And to support Linux and Windows and Mac. Of course, I have no ability to test on Mac because I don't have a Mac and I don't plan to buy a Mac or some Apple products. So Windows and Linux it is, but I hope to support both. So I will set some macros into code to use, if you compile it, to use one part for Windows and the other part for Linux, and hopefully get the results of the methods and classes the same, roughly. At least I hope it. So yeah, I think that's it for this video. Again, I have to say sorry for my English because, yeah, I'm not used to it. Hope it gets better. And again, I'm very happy about feedback. I'm very happy I would be happy if you'd use my framework. Again, it's open source, so no cost other than a little time of yours to get it from GitHub, load it into your Visual Studio, because it's a Visual Studio project, and test it for yourself. You will need to install the MySQL C API if you want to use MySQL part. I think, yes, you need the header files for that. I don't know if you can extract it or get it somewhere else. I think you need to install the Oracle version of it. Maybe I will find another way. Some said MariaDB is a good alternative. I don't know if they have their own framework for accessing the MariaDB. So if there is one, I will maybe use it, but I will also support MySQL. So there will be either in the background something that looks for something like, is it MariaDB or is it MySQL, or I will have separate classes with at least similar implementations of methods like Maria command, Maria SQL command, Maria SQL data adapter, and stuff like that. So before I talk you to death, I'm sorry, I want to thank you for your attention if you made it to this part of the video, and we will see I don't know. Until next time, bye bye.